Hello ladies and gents out there, this is Evan, your friend in some really exciting tutorials in Photoshop, photography and not only that. Today I'm back again in my YouTube channel in order to show you one of my greatest techniques when it comes to macro photography. Today I will show you the way of focus stacking, a technique I use in order to make crystal clear photographs out of many shots in macro mode. When you have, when you shot macro, most of the times you get something like that. I will just hit the space over here. You just get one single short line of focused area and the rest it is blurry, as you can see here. Well, this is the narrow depth of field, a really small depth of field that it happens when you shoot macro in actually a really wide open lens. So if you use a macro lens at about f2.8 or maybe 4 or maybe f5.6, you will get something like that, a really narrow depth of field. And of course, this thing most of the times is not really good for us. Sometimes we like it, but most of the times we hate it when we shoot macro. Because let's have as an example, not this SanDisk SD card, but let's say that we have a bag over here and we want to make a macro. So if you have such a small depth of field, such a small crystal clear area, let's say, you will not be able to photograph the bag. You will only have clear the back of the bag or the leg or the wings or one eye of the bag, but not all the bag. So in order to have a crystal clear, a really clear photograph, macro photograph, you have to increase the values of the aperture. So the f should go higher. And by saying higher, I mean more than f11, f22, maybe more than that. And then you will be able to have a larger depth of field, and then you will be able to have a bag crystal clear. But most of the times when you work with macro, and you want to get paid from macro, you will not shoot bags, so you will shoot, let's say, jewelry or a ring or something. So if you want to shoot a ring and have it crystal clear, you will have to increase the f-stop in order to have larger depth of field, and that way you will succeed crystal clear. But you have to sacrifice some things in order to increase the f, because when you go higher in the aperture, actually you're losing light. So in order to balance the light, you will have to have actually a slower shutter, or you will have to increase the ISO. In both situations, if you actually use a slower shutter, you will need a tripod. And if you will increase the ISO, you will have noise in your photographs. So we must find a way in order to have crystal clear photographs with the best settings, with ISO 100 or maybe 250 of 100 ISO, but not higher. And also we'll have to have a shutter that it is really stable for us, really fast enough to produce us stable photographs. So with that in mind, we have to find an idea. I will go back again and I will show you some settings here for this photograph, which is not really, really sharp in the outside of the depth of field. You see that? Only here it is sharp. I have used the f4, not f2.8, f4, so not with the widest value of my lens. And afterwards I used a shutter 1/50th of a second, and of course ISO 100. So my camera actually right now it has good settings in ISO, but not good settings for producing a larger depth of field, and of course not good settings of producing actually stable photographs. So I need a tripod for that. Well, I just changed some values here. So then I tried to increase actually the values of the f-stop. So I went at about f.8. I have to also make my shutter slower in order to have the same amount of light, more or less. Now my photograph is a little better. I mean, my depth of field is a tiny bit more wider, but of course you can see movement here because the one quarter, let's say, of a second actually is really slow for the handheld camera. And of course afterwards I wanted to make an even larger depth of field, but without a tripod. So I went to f11 with 0.5 with half second of slow shutter. As you can see, my hands were really good for this photograph. You see that? Not so shaken, but you can see that my depth of field is really larger right now comparing to the f4. Okay, then I went to some crazy results. I went to here I was at f11. Sorry, these were with a tripod. So even with tripod, I had some shaken photographs because I didn't use a release, a cable release. So then I took my hands and did the exact same thing. So f4, f115, 1/15th of a second. And then of course I went here and you can see that my depth of field is really narrow, but okay, sharp photographs. And then I went to f.6, 1/8 of a second, and you see some shaken photographs because it's really impossible to hold the lens as a robot or as a Robocop in order to have it so stable. And of course the thing gets worse. f8, 1/4 of a second, 1/4, let's say, of a second. You see that? Really bad photographs. And then half of a second, f11. Of course my photograph is really messed up, is a garbage, let's say. So I had to find a way in order to make this photograph really clear as this one. But this time I didn't use the shutter, so the shutter remained at 1/19th of a second. You see that? But I increased the ISO. You see that at f11 my depth of field is really better, as you can see here, but there is visible noise. And if you don't have a full frame camera, it will be more bad for you. And at about f6400, my card is really better, but of course the noise is really visible and destroys my overall photograph. So in order to create, to have a better mixture and actually create the best photograph, the best macro photograph without sacrificing the ISO or without having a tripod, we must produce a new technique. We have to use a new technique with the name of focus stacking, and of course with the help of Photoshop. So all I did was to have the same idea as the first photograph. I mean, to shot in the widest aperture of my lens, let's say f4, and of course use the same as well, the best, let's say, shutter and the lowest ISO. So I used the best settings here, as you can see, f5.6, let's say, 1/15th of a second, and ISO 200. Great settings for every FX camera and of course DX camera these days. And all I did was that I took some actually focus points, starting from the lowest part of the object, and then I took a shot here, and then I took a shot there with my focus point was here, and then my focus point was there, as you can see, with the same settings. I just only changed the focus point in my camera, and then I went higher and higher and higher, and so I have actually a set of photos that they are sharpened in every little aspect of my object. That way I can combine all those photos in Photoshop and I will produce a sharpened, really great photograph without noise and of course without tripod. So I will use all those, let's say 8 photos. Okay, and I will use my magic in Photoshop. Of course, Photoshop has wonderful tools in order to fix this problem. It has a focus stacking feature that will help us do the trick right away. First of all, I need to open these photos inside Photoshop, and of course I want all these photos to be in the same file, grouped as layers. So I will select all my photographs and I will go to Tools inside Adobe Bridge, and I will go to Photoshop and I will go to Load Files into Photoshop Layers. That way Photoshop will open and it will create only one file, this file, and inside this file it will load all my photographs. This will reduce dramatically all the time I need to put all the layers inside one object. Everything will be automatically from Photoshop, and I think this trick is really good when you want to create focus stacking. So in a while my photographs will be stacked as layers inside here. You see that? It's really fast, and in a while I will be able to work with my shots. You will realize now that I have several, as you can see here, shots of the same object, but I have different focused place. You see that? Super. And also you can see that my object is not perfectly aligned, as you can see here. So I have to find a way to align that. I will select all the layers by hitting the one layer with a click and then shift click the last layer, and you see I select every layer here, and I will go to edit and I will select first of all the auto align layers. That way I will align my object. Great. It will take a while, but don't worry, Photoshop will do a great job for that. And after this procedure, my object, it will be really aligned in every layer. You will see that in a while. Great job. And then, as you can see, my photographs, my layers are really re-edited and repositioned in order to have this object perfectly aligned through all the lens. Let's just do a test over here. I will alt click the last layer. As you can see, all the other layers are invisible right now. On this one is visible. And then I will go and I will hit the Alt option in Macintosh and the left bracket key in order to go to the first one. And then if I will hit again the Alt and right and left bracket, I will just pass through all the layers. And as you can see, my object is perfectly aligned. So I have a stable object right now, and I'm ready to go to the next level. So I will go again, Alt click here in order to bring back all the layers. I will take my crop tool. I will cut the not so good parts of my photograph right now. Maybe I can go even closer to the object. I don't really care about the outside parts of my photograph. Great. I will hit the OK button. And now my photographs, as you can see, they don't have empty places around. So I only have my layers perfectly aligned, and I'm ready for the next step. Before I go to the next step, I will speed up things. I will go to image size, and I will reduce the size of my photograph in order to go a little bit faster. So maybe I will go to 1920 in width. Let's see. Okay, I will hit OK, and then I'll just wait for the image size to be reduced, and then I will use my final technique. I will just increase the zoom here. I will select all my layers, and then I will go and do my magic trick. I will go to edit and select the auto blend layers, and here I will select the stack images, and this actually command will do the trick for me. I will hit OK. I have to have all my layers selected. I will hit OK, and then the Photoshop will start and actually will blend the sharpened areas of each layer, and it will mask out all the blurry parts of each layer, and in the end I will have visible only the sharpened parts of each layer, and that will produce to me a crystal clear photograph out of the blue. I'm just waiting for the progress to be over, and then you will see a wonderful photograph that it will be perfectly and crystal clear without sacrificing the shutter or the ISO. So we're shooting with the best settings possible and with the lowest ISO, and of course the fastest shutter, and then we just collect all the focused areas here in Photoshop in grouped layers as I showed you in Bridge, and then we just align them, crop them, and then using the auto blend, and you can see that I have a wonderful photo. Maybe it has some problems here, but I don't really care about it. You see that I have a wonderful photo, a really crystal clear photo with just a mixture of all my shots in here. If you just go and alt click the first photograph, you see that, you can realize that Photoshop keeps only the sharpest areas of each layer. So I'll go alt and left bracket in order to see all my photographs. You see that? It's like magic. Photoshop do this for me without even working with Photoshop. So Photoshop do this for me. It's like my slave. And you see how precise work Photoshop did for me. And of course, the end, it will be great for me. Of course, it needs a little bit more work. Maybe I forgot to shot this area over here, but don't worry. I think my photograph is really great. And of course, it doesn't have noise at all. So no shaking photos, no noise, only pure macro photos with the help of Photoshop, and of course with the technique of focus stacking. I'm Evan, your friend in some really exciting tutorials. If you like the tutorial, please like my work. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, because every day I create a new tutorial for you. Have fun, my friends, and keep photoshopping.